Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michelle Singer Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of multiple murders.
In the pantheon of Hollywood history, the movie brats of the 1970s, Spielberg, Lucas, Coppola, Scorsese, and De Palma have long held the spotlight. But in a stunning moment of vulnerability during a private industry retrospective this week, Steven Spielberg turned the spotlight toward a figure often standing just adjacent to that circle, delivering a tearful confession that has reshaped how insiders view the last 40 years of American cinema. His complex, loving, and envious relationship with Rob Reiner. For decades, the narrative has been simple. Spielberg is the titan, the creator of the blockbuster. Rob Reiner is the witty satirist, the man who gave us This Is Spinal Tap and the romantic perfection of When Harry Met Sally. They were friends, colleagues, and titans of the industry. But speaking before a hushed crowd at the American Cinematheque, Spielberg removed his glasses, wiped his eyes, and admitted a truth he has guarded for decades. I spent half my career trying to build worlds that didn't exist. I spent the other half wishing I had Rob's courage to simply live in the one that does. Here is the full story of that confession, the history that led to it, and why Rob Reiner remains the hidden heart of Hollywood's golden generation. Part 1. The Night of the Revelation. The setting was intimate, a celebration of Castle Rock Entertainment's legacy. The room was populated by the surviving elite of the new Hollywood era. Tom Hanks was present, Billy Crystal sat front and center. Martin Scorsese sent a video message. When Spielberg took the podium, most expected a standard eulogy to Reiner's filmography. Spielberg is known for his polished, statesman-like public speaking. He rarely breaks character. "We talk about the beard and the meathead," Spielberg joked, referencing Reiner's breakout role as Michael Stivic on All in the Family. The room chuckled, but the mood shifted when Spielberg folded his prepared notes and placed them in his pocket. "I have a confession to make to you, Rob," Spielberg said, his voice dropping an octave. "And I want it on the record before we get too old to remember the truth." The room went silent. "In 1986, Spielberg began. I released The Color Purple and Empire of the Sun shortly after. I was desperate to be taken seriously as a dramatist. I wanted to shed the skin of the shark guy and the alien guy. I was straining, sweating, bleeding onto the page to prove I understood the human condition." He looked directly at Reiner. "And then you just went and made Stand By Me." Spielberg paused, fighting back emotion. "I watched that film alone in a screening room at Amblin. And when the lights came up, I didn't feel inspired. I felt defeated. Because you had captured the raw, unvarnished pain of childhood male friendship. The very thing I had been trying to hide behind spaceships and adventures my whole life. My confession is this. For 10 years, I didn't just admire you, Rob. I was jealous of your emotional honesty. You didn't need special effects. You just needed people talking in a room or walking down a railroad track. I realized then that you were the brave one. I was the one hiding." Reiner, visible in the front row, appeared stunned, burying his face in his hands as the audience erupted in a standing ovation that was less about applause and more about the shock of witnessing a titan humble himself. Part 2. The Parallel Lives. To understand the weight of this confession, one must understand the parallel tracks these two men ran on. Both were born into Jewish families in creative industries. Spielberg was the outsider, the nerd with the Super 8 camera in Arizona, fighting his way into Universal Studios. Reiner was Hollywood royalty, the son of the legendary Carl Reiner, the Dick Van Dyke Show. While Spielberg was redefining cinema with Jaws in 1975, Reiner was the most famous liberal hippie in America on television's #1 show, All in the Family. People forget how hard it is to go from being a sitcom star to a respected director, says film historian Leonard Maltin. It's almost impossible. Ron Howard did it and Rob Reiner did it. But Rob did it with a streak of hits that is statistically baffling. Between 1984 and 1992, Reiner had a run that rivals any director in history. This Is Spinal Tap, The Sure Thing, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, and A Few Good Men. That run is flawless, Spielberg noted later in the evening. There isn't a bad frame in 7 movies. I don't have a run like that. I have 1941. I have Hook. Rob didn't miss. Part 3. The burden of the blockbuster. The core of Spielberg's confession touches on a deep insecurity that plagues many commercial artists. Spielberg created the modern blockbuster. He changed the economy of movies, but with that came the criticism that he was sentimental or manipulative. Reiner, conversely, was seen as a master of tone. The Princess Bride balances satire and sincerity on a knife's edge. Misery is a thriller that relies entirely on acting, not jump scares. During the Q&A portion of the evening, Spielberg elaborated on his jealousy. When I made Schindler's List, Spielberg said, I was finally stripping away the artifice. But Rob had been doing that in comedies. Do you know how hard it is to make When Harry Met Sally feel real? That's not a movie about jokes. It's a movie about the terror of intimacy. I deal with the terror of sharks. Rob dealt with the terror of saying, I love you. Rob's terror is scarier. Part 4. The Brotherhood of Directors. The confession also shed light on the private support system within Hollywood. Spielberg revealed that during the production of Saving Private Ryan, he struggled with the emotional toll of the subject matter. I would call Rob, Spielberg admitted. It was 1997. Rob was making Ghosts of Mississippi. We weren't talking about camera lenses. I was calling him because I felt hollowed out. Rob has this incredible capacity for empathy. He gets it from Carl. He would stay on the phone with me for hours, just letting me talk about my dad, about the war, about the fear that I wasn't doing the veterans justice. I never told anyone that, Spielberg whispered. I let everyone think I was the stoic general on set. But Rob was the chaplain. This dynamic flips the public perception. Spielberg is the father figure of cinema, but Reiner was the father figure to Spielberg during his darkest creative hours. Part 5. The Political Divide and Unity. The article would be incomplete without addressing their public personas in recent years. Rob Reiner has become a firebrand political activist on social media. Spielberg has remained largely apolitical in his public statements, preferring his films to speak for him. Some tabloids have speculated that this created a rift. Spielberg addressed this directly. People think because Rob is loud on Twitter and I am quiet in the press, that we are at odds, Spielberg said, gesturing to Reiner. But Rob screams because he cares. I whisper, because I hope people will lean in to listen. We are saying the same thing. We are fighting for the same human decency. Reiner, finally taking the mic later in the evening, responded with his trademark wit, though his voice wavered. Stephen, you invented the dinosaur. I invented the quote, I'll have what she's having. History will remember the dinosaur, but I'm glad you liked the salad. The laughter broke the tension. Part 6, Why This Matters Now. Why does this confession matter in 2026? Because we are witnessing the twilight of the studio era directors. With the passing of contemporaries and the shift toward digital content and AI-generated scripts, the bond between filmmakers like Spielberg and Reiner represents a lost era of collaboration. Spielberg's admission that he envied Reiner is a humanizing moment for a man often viewed as a god. It reminds aspiring filmmakers that even the creator of E.T. looked at Stand By Me and thought, I wish I could do that. It validates Rob Reiner not just as a comedy director, but as a cinematic heavyweight who mastered the one special effect Spielberg couldn't buy. Pure, unadulterated human connection. Conclusion, the final frame. As the event concluded, the two men embraced on stage. It wasn't the polite Hollywood hug of two agents making a deal. It was the embrace of two men in their late 70s and early 80s who have survived the most brutal industry on earth, and who realize that their awards and box office receipts mean less than the phone calls they shared at 2 a.m. Spielberg's confession wasn't about weakness. It was about love. It was a revelation that even the man who dreams of the stars needs a friend to keep him tethered to the earth. For nearly 3 weeks, the world has mourned the loss of Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, two pillars of the Hollywood community found dead in their Brentwood estate on December 14th, 2025. But until today, the specific, harrowing details of how they were discovered and the terrifying minutes that followed have remained sealed behind police tape and family silence. New reports surfacing this week clarify the timeline of that Sunday afternoon. revealing that 28-year-old Romy Reiner did not merely find her parents. She was forced to flee the premises in a state of absolute terror, a detail that has only now begun to circulate among investigators. While the headline remains the arrest of the couple's son, Nick Reiner, the narrative of Romy's discovery paints a picture of a daughter walking into a nightmare, finding her father first, and making a split-second decision that may have saved her own life. According to sources close to the investigation, Romy Reiner arrived at the family's sprawling Brentwood property shortly after 3:30 p.m. She had been attempting to reach her parents by phone since late morning. The Reiners had attended a party hosted by Conan O'Brien the previous night, a night that allegedly ended with a loud public argument between Rob and his 32-year-old son, Nick, 4. When Romy arrived, the house was uncharacteristically quiet. The family's security gate was closed, but the front door was reportedly unlocked. Romy called out for them, a source close to the family told investigators. Rob was usually watching football on Sundays. The silence was the first thing that hit her. The prompt indicates a report that Romy discovered only his body before fleeing. Police logs and the transcript of the 911 call now align with this account. As Romy moved through the foyer toward the living area, she discovered her father, Rob Reiner, 78, slumped in a chair in the main living space. The nature of his injuries, multiple sharp force trauma, was immediately apparent and catastrophic. It is at this moment that the narrative shifts from a standard discovery to a survival situation. According to preliminary reports, Romy did not immediately see her mother, Michelle. Realizing that the attack was fresh and potentially ongoing, and not knowing if the perpetrator was still inside the 12,000 square foot home, Romy reportedly did not search further. She did not go upstairs. She did not check the other rooms. She saw her father, she realized he was gone, and she realized she was vulnerable, the source stated. She didn't scream. She turned and ran. Romy fled the house, sprinting down the driveway to the street before dialing 911 at 3:41 p.m. This decision to flee, rather than clear the house, likely spared her from a confrontation with whoever had committed the act. Or, if the perpetrator had already left, spared her the trauma of discovering her mother, Michelle, who was later found by police in a separate part of the residence. While Romy was fleeing the Brentwood estate, a manhunt was already quietly beginning. The LAPD arrived at 3:50 p.m., securing the perimeter. Inside, they confirmed the decease of both Rob and Michelle Reiner. 4. The focus immediately turned to Nick Reiner, the couple's son. Nick, 32, has a documented history of struggles with mental health and substance abuse. He was living on the property in a guest house at the time of the murders. When police cleared the main house and the guest quarters, Nick was gone. The flight of the daughter and the flight of the son happened within hours of each other, but for very different reasons, noted LAPD spokesperson Captain Jeff Moore. Nick Reiner was eventually apprehended 6 hours later near the University of Southern California, USC, campus in Exposition Park. He was reportedly disoriented and covered in blood. He offered no resistance during the arrest. As the investigation enters its 3rd week, the media has uncovered a trail of warning signs that were missed or managed privately by the family. Records reviewed by the Los Angeles Times and People magazine indicate that police had been called to the Reiner residence multiple times in the last decade. February 25, 2019, a welfare check was requested. Officers found no immediate danger. September 27, 2019, a mental health-related call was logged. Again, no action was taken as the criteria for an involuntary hold, 5150, were not met. Friends of the family describe Rob and Michelle as tireless advocates for their son, often refusing to press charges during previous outbursts in hopes of getting him treatment rather than incarceration. Rob's heart was his greatest strength as a director, but it was his greatest vulnerability as a father, said a longtime collaborator who wished to remain anonymous. He believed love could fix anything. He didn't believe his son was capable of this. As of January 3, 2026, Nick Reiner sits in a high-security mental health ward within the LA County Jail system. He has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. His arraignment is scheduled for January 7th. His defense team is expected to plead not guilty by reason of insanity, citing a long history of schizophrenia. However, the prosecution may argue premeditation, pointing to the argument at the O'Brien party the night prior as a motive trigger. Meanwhile, Judge Deirdre Hill has granted a request to seal the autopsy reports. 5. This unusual move was requested by the Robbery Homicide Division to prevent details known only to the killer from leaking to the press, suggesting that the crime scene holds complex evidence that has not yet been made public. Romy Reiner has remained in seclusion since the event. She was spotted briefly on December 30th in Malibu, walking on the beach with her brother Jake and close friends, surrounded by security. The trauma of her flight, the realization that she left her parents' home to save herself, is a heavy burden. But criminal psychologists note that her instinct likely prevented a triple homicide. In that moment of horror, the brain chooses fight or flight, says Dr. Elena Corves, a trauma specialist. Romy chose flight. That instinct is the reason she is alive to mourn them today. Rob Reiner's career defined the warmth of American cinema. From The Princess Bride to Stand By Me, he taught the world about friendship and loyalty. It is a cruel irony that his end came in a moment of violent betrayal within his own home. As Hollywood prepares for a memorial service that will likely rival the funerals of Golden Age legends, the focus remains on Romy and Jake Reiner, two siblings left to pick up the pieces of a dynasty shattered in a single afternoon. British actor Cary Elwes recently shared a poignant tribute to director Rob Reiner, whose life tragically ended earlier this month along with his wife Michelle. Elwes, widely recognized for his role as Wesley in the 1987 classic The Princess Bride, directed by Reiner, expressed his deep admiration and love for the filmmaker who significantly impacted his career. Elwes, at the time a young actor in his early 20s, recalled first meeting Reiner during the production of The Princess Bride. He described an instant connection with the director, whose warm personality and openness were evident from the start. Reiner's approachability and genuine interest in the people he worked with set him apart in the industry, according to Elwes. In an emotional Instagram post, Elwes shared behind-the-scenes anecdotes from the making of The Princess Bride, highlighting Reiner's deep passion for filmmaking. He emphasized how Reiner enjoyed the process more than the outcome, cherishing the experience of creating something special on set. Elwes reminisced about the laughter-filled days, which made the experience unforgettable. The post also included reflections on Reiner's personal side, touching on his relationship with his wife Michelle, whom he met on the set of another of his famous films, When Harry Met Sally. Elwes praised Michelle's talent and the couple's shared commitment to using their fame to support charitable causes and advocate for the marginalized. Elwes's tribute extended beyond personal memories, reflecting on the impact Reiner had on his life and the entertainment industry. He noted that Reiner's legacy is not just in the films he made, but in the generous spirit he carried throughout his life. The actor referenced a beloved line from The Princess Bride to encapsulate his feelings. Sure, death cannot stop true love, but life is pain without you. Rob Reiner's work included other iconic films such as Stand By Me and When Harry Met Sally, making significant contributions to film and leaving a lasting legacy. His death has been widely mourned in the industry, with many colleagues and fans expressing their gratitude and respect for his work and the personal connections he fostered. Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer attend The Bucket List premiere on December 16, 2007 in Hollywood, California. The entrance to Rob Reiner's residence on December 15, 2025 in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles, California. Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer attend The Bucket List premiere on December 16, 2007 in Hollywood, California. The entrance to Rob Reiner's residence on December 15, 2025 in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles, California. Credit: police responded to 2 calls for service at Rob Reiner's Los Angeles residence in 2019, one classified as a welfare check and another marked as mental health related, records confirm. The records do not specify who contacted law enforcement or who was the subject of either call. Rob, 78, and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, 70, were found killed in their home on Sunday, December 14, 2025. Police responded to welfare check calls at Rob Reiner's Los Angeles home on at least 2 occasions in the years before he and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were killed at the residence. Their son, Nick Reiner, who lived on the property, has been charged in connection with their murder. Records obtained by People show that police went to the Brentwood home twice in 2019, once for a call coded as a welfare check, and once for a call classified as mental health related. The first call, placed at 9:51 p.m. on February 25, 2019, was logged as a welfare check that instructed officers to go to a woman upon arrival, according to LAPD records reviewed by People. Officers arrived at the home at 10:12 p.m., completed the call, and reported the incident to a supervisor. An aerial view of director Rob Reiner's home on December 15, 2025 in Brentwood, California. The LAPD confirmed that Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner were found dead in the Brentwood home. Their son Nick has been arrested in connection to their deaths. An aerial view of director Rob Reiner's home in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles, California, taken on December 15, 2015, one day after they were found dead inside the residence. Mario Thomas/Getty. Months later, on September 27, 2019, police responded to a mental health related call for service involving a male individual placed at 4:24 p.m. Officers arrived at the residence at 5:07 p.m. and informed a supervisor that they found no indication of mental illness, the records state. The records do not identify the person who contacted police or the individual who was the subject of either call. The Daily Mail was first to report the calls made to police. Nick, 32, who was reportedly being treated for schizophrenia, is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder following the deaths of his parents, Rob, 78, and Michelle, 70. Prosecutors allege the couple was killed during the early morning hours of Sunday, December 14th, inside their home in Los Angeles. Rob and Michelle Reiner are holding hands forever, says longtime friend. It soothes my heart, exclusive. Nada Sodervist and Michelle and Rob Reiner. Rob and Michelle Reiner's children Jake and Romy leaning on their strong bond amid nightmare of parents' deaths, exclusive. Jake Reiner, Romy Reiner,